Make yourself comfortable in either a seated position or a kneeling position. If you have yoga blocks or something that you want to put underneath your hips, that might make you feel a little more comfortable in your back or your knees. It's time to just gather our breath and settle in for about an hour of movement and meditation. This class will move fairly slowly, rooted in stability and strength, while still trying to maintain some sense of fluidity. As always, I encourage you to challenge yourself while being kind and aware of any areas of your body that might need a little extra support today. I invite you to close your eyes if that feels like the right thing to do, to bring your awareness inside. Put a light seal on your lips. And try to smooth out the cycle of your breath. Playing around with the length of your inhales versus your exhales. Perhaps we could inspire that exhale to be more patient. Maybe a little bit longer than the inhale. Creating a sense of 360 degree of expansion throughout your core cylinder. Finding that equal pressure canister. Side body expanding just as much as the front and the back. And as always, we're trying to limit the movement of the high chest or the shoulders or the neck with the breathing. Embodied breath. Focusing on our inner landscape. If your eyes were closed, you can open them now. Let your right ear rest towards your right shoulder. And then turn your head and just look down over your right shoulder. Playing around with different positions of your head here to experience just a really gentle neck stretch. Nothing too intense to start. If you wanted a little more here though, what you could do is reach your left arm out to the side, either straight up at shoulder height or maybe even lower on a diagonal as if you were reaching for something towards your left side on the floor. And then find a neutral position once again and tilt your left ear towards your shoulder. Keep in mind with this practice that the lefts and the rights don't matter so much. In other words, if you reverse them, it's okay, because we're always going to do the second side. So if you find yourself in the right when I'm cueing the left, don't worry about it. Now swivel your head so your chin drops down a little bit towards your shoulders if you're peeking over your shoulder. For the extra, your right arm could reach out on a diagonal line. And then bring yourself back to center. If this kneeling or seated position is getting uncomfortable for your knees, your pelvis, or your spine, you can change it a little bit. But if you're content, we're going to reach arms out and up to a V. And then bring your arms slightly forward, still on a V. Inhale, reach up and out, turn your palms forward. Exhale, reach forward and a little wider than the shoulders, palms face in. So it's about a half of a shoulder carve, maybe even a little bit less than that, maybe a quarter carve. Let's just do a few more like that. Last one. And then bring yourself up to a tall kneeling position. So if your knees or your shins need a little extra padding, you could do that now by rolling your mat in the center or just using a beach towel or a blanket to pad underneath you. Find a neutral position for your spine. If you are a forward tilting pelvis person like me, you might want to even activate more of a push from the backside as if you're trying to tuck your tail underneath you, and then bring your arms out in front of you. Rest your palms lightly towards each other, and we'll start to slide and glide the scapula, allowing for just a little bit of upper T-spine rotation. Drag your left shoulder back as your right arm reaches forward, and your hands are just going to pass each other, like a really slow scissoring effect. Work on keeping your pelvis stable and your spine vertical. Getting some mobility now in the shoulder blade area. We're going to add a few more layers to this movement, but for now, let's take a short rest. Maybe just let the arms kind of hang or swing. And then on this round, we're going to start at the same, but we're going to pull with the arm as well, kind of like you're pulling back a bowstring. For these next several reps, we're going to keep the chest facing forward and just pull with the arms. And think down and back rather than up and back. Similar to what you would do in kind of an upright row position, or a seated row position rather. And then we're going to add on another layer. So on this next set, as you row your arm, you're also going to rotate just your upper T-spine. Keep your pelvis and your navel facing the front, and bring a little bit of rotation to that upper body. And I feel like I'm moving pretty fast here. You could really slow this down and match it up with your breathing if you wanted to. I just happen to be listening to a song that has a little bit more of a upbeat rhythm. I'm going to just take a couple more. Noticing sensation around the shoulders here, both in the front and in the back. And staying connected to a really smooth and strong breath cycle. Last two. And then we'll rest. Rest the arms, rest the shoulders. You may sit back or kneel and sit back on your block. Close your eyes again. Continuing to circle your attention back to this wave-like cycle of your breath. Letting everything else in your environment slip away and being here for yourself right now. Downward facing dog is going to be our next stop. Set your hands at least shoulders width apart. And you probably know this, but some of us like our wrists a little wider than the shoulders, and myself included there. Tuck your toes under. Stretch your hips up and back. And allow for your scapula, the shoulder blades that we were just working on, to upwardly rotate. So don't think about pulling your shoulders down here. They're actually, they need to move here. They need to elevate a little bit. But if you feel crowded in your neck, then taking your hands a little wider could help with that sensation. We'll pedal our down dog. Lift one heel, stretch the other heel closer to the earth. Maybe slow to start, perhaps eventually making it a little more rhythmic. Using this as an opportunity to decompress the spine column, hips moving away from the hands, arms firmly reaching overhead. Lift your heels nice and high, and then lower them down. Let's do 2 more heel raises. Step your feet a little wider in your down dog and walk your hands backwards towards your feet. So now you're arranged at the back of your mat. Bend your knees as much as you'd like and just hang, dangle.
perhaps sway in your forward fold. Releasing any unintentional tension from around the head, neck, and shoulders, but putting a little bit of helpful tension around the feet, the foundation, backs of the thighs, up near your seat. Feeling that good, strong support there. And then make sure the feet are a little wider than the hips, and you may or may not like a little turnout in your feet. This next movement might be new for you, and the instructions are going to be a little bit vague because what I'd like is for you to explore this a little bit. So the plan is we're going to squat about halfway to a malasana, and you can do whatever you want with your arms. And then you're going to move your body forward and crawl your hands out to any shape. So you can see this isn't really like a plank. It's not really a down dog. It's something kind of awkwardly in between. My right heel is lifted. My left heel is down. And then I'm going to walk back to that squat and do something different on this one. So I might walk more laterally, bend one knee, keep the other leg straight. I'm just trying to make shapes here and explore different sensations in my body. You'll come through to a squat, to the back of your mat, and then the next movement is just see what happens. Don't worry about being symmetrical from side to side. And just keep moving, keep grooving. What can you come up with? We'll do a couple more.
Breathe.
Back to the forward fold, back of your mat.
Heel toe your feet in. Either all the way together, if that's how you like your Tadasana, or just hip width. Come up to a halfway lift. We're going to be here for a little bit, so make it strong from the back side. Lengthen your spine forward. Little tuck of the chin so the neck is in neutral. Fly your arms behind you with your palms facing together, but bring them a little wider. Keep a little bend in your knees here. Firm up the space where your pelvis and your hamstrings meet up. Trying to bring that spine about level to the horizon with an awareness of that side body breathing. Take your arms out to the side like a T. Fly them up a little higher and then bring them down to shoulder height. A couple more. Reach your arms forward, but not straight out in front of your shoulders, more on a diagonal line. Bend your knees more, drop your hips back. Let's go palms to face in. Still have that spine about level to the horizon. Raise your arms an inch and lower them an inch for 5, 4, 3, 2, forward fold. Walk yourself out to a tabletop position. Drop your knees underneath your hips. Tilt and tuck your pelvis 5 times. Just the pelvis moves. Upper body stays nice and quiet. Last 3, 2. Level out your pelvis with your spine. Nod your head 5 times. Just the neck moves. 4, 3, 2. Level everything out again, neutral tabletop. Now just the upper T-spine moves. This is a small, subtle movement. Try to keep your shoulder blades spread apart on your back without squeezing them together. Sternum forward a little bit. And then round up your upper back a little bit without moving your pelvis or your head. This is going to be feeling much smaller than your traditional cat and cow.
It's difficult to isolate just this upper back, but it's really good to be able to do that. The more control we have at each segment of our spine in this macro level, the better off we're going to feel when we have a global position back bend, like camel or wheel or bow. Let's take a little rest. Rotate your wrists, perhaps massage your forearms, or just flex and extend your wrists. I've got a fly bothering me. Who can I put on fly duty? Get out of here, fly. Let's go back to our tabletop position and we'll roll through some really slow, controlled cat-cows. Each movement for now, starting at the tailbone. Lift your tail. Let that wave travel up your spine as a serpentine wave. Head lifts last. Now drop your tail. Start to dome your back. Drop your head last.
Couple more. Start at the tail, rise, pull,
lift. Now drop the tail. Start to tuck from the bum, lower back, mid back, upper back, then the head.
Last one like that.
Breathing naturally, your even paced rhythm.
One more time. Ease off the weight on your wrist. Sit back,
relax, find your breath. Downward face. Tuck the toes. Pike your hips up and back. Stretch through your lats.
Push the floor away.
Inhale to the plank. Hold here on your exhale. Full body experience. Find a sense of your armpits dragging backwards towards your toes. Keep that sense of pulling with your strong arms. Strong plank, tuck your tail a little bit, pull yourself all the way down. Keep your front chest broad. Untuck your toes. Drop between your thighs, lengthen into your low back. Your arms back like wings. High five the wall behind you. Take your arms to a T. Raise your arms forward like a wide V. Palms face in. Take your arms wide. Reach them back, lift your heart more. Bend your elbows, place your hands, cobra or up dog. Energize your thighs. Use your glutes. Downward face. Inhale to the plank. Exhale, chaturanga or all the way down, slow. Reset the shoulders. Lift your heart, cobra, up dog, either one. Down dog. One more time like that, or pause in a down dog. Find your plank, strong and slow. Steady pull to the floor or halfway down. Open your chest, fire up the back side, cobra or up dog. Down dog. Lift your heels. Tiptoe step or hop your feet forward, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, long and strong. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way. Exhale, hands to your heart and arms beside your body. Root down through your feet. Stand a little taller throughout your spine. Inhale, reach fingers to the sky. Exhale, hinge and fold over your thighs. Lengthen your spine halfway, level to the horizon. Forward fold. Step back to a plank. Pivot your heels over towards the left. Turn all 10 toes towards the right side of your mat. Right heel in front of the left toes, so we're stacking the feet one in front of the other. Rise your right arm. Lift through your left waistline. Breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2. Take your right hand gently behind your head and on your exhale breath, lift and pike your hips as you try to bring your right elbow underneath your body. Find that side plank, inhale. Exhale, pike your hips and spin your upper body to rotation. We'll do one more like that. Inhale to the plank.
Exhale, lift your hips and rotate your upper body. High plank position, inhale breath. Exhale, chaturanga or all the way down. Cobra or upward face. Downward face. Shift forward to high plank. Pivot your heels to the right. Left heel in front of the right toes. And you're on the outside edge of your right foot in the inner blade of the left foot. Breathing for 3, 2, 1. Left hand behind the head. This will be your inhale position. Exhale, hips go higher, and we rotate the chest down. Try 2 more. Be really strong with that right foundation. You're pushing into the floor and scrubbing forward. Last one. First to your side plank, then to your regular plank. Optional vinyasa from there. I'm going to skip it this time and go right to my downward dog. Lift your heels. Make your way to the front of your mat in your own time. Remember, there's never a rush. Inhale, halfway lift. And then fold and hinge deeply through your hips. Stand up with a strong back side. Hands to your heart. Reset. Bring your feet nice and close. Bring your left heel towards your bum. Try to keep your knees even. Hands to your hips. Bend your right knee and put more weight in your heel. So it looks like a single leg chair. The challenging part for me right now is going to be to keep my inner thighs together or close and try to keep my knees in the same plane. So I'll show you what that looks like if it doesn't happen. My knee could try to tuck forward. My knee could try to extend back from the hip. So we're going to try to keep the knees even with each other. Stay heavy in that right heel. Do whatever you want with your arms. We're going to hinge through the hips. Bring our spine halfway down to that level position. Think tabletop in your back. Arms could reach back into extension. That might feel good. Bend your right knee a little more if you want a little more. Lighten the load in your toes. Breathing for 5, 4, and 3, and 2. Take your hands to your heart. Press them together firmly. Feel that centration towards your midline. Connect. Step your left foot back. Open up to a warrior 2. You might need to shuffle your feet around to get the stance just right. Feeling that right thigh bone spiraling outward without opening the foot. So keep your foot rooted. Let that power come from the right hip. Rotate your palms to the sky. Now from your upper arm bones, rotate inward. Turn your biceps down. Thumbs will eventually turn down. Palms will go behind you. One more time, just like that. Rotate the upper arms externally. Notice if the ribs wanted to flare, tuck those back in, and then internally. Neutral arm position, straighten out your right leg. Reverse your triangle. Side angle pose, rebend your front leg. As usual, we're going to start with a more conservative version. We'll see how it goes. Press your leg into your arm, but press your arm into your leg. So you're working both sides. Strong support from that right hip. One long line of energy now on the left side. Reach your left arm over your head. Bicep will land by your ear. Think heel to fingertips. Nice and strong and straight. Rise up, open to the left side, so towards the long side of your mat like a T. Star pose. Set up the left foot for a warrior 2 to the back. Reverse your warrior 2. Stay bending into your left knee. When you're ready to exhale, bring your hands to the floor. Runner's lunge. Widen your stance if that feels better in your low back. Lift your heart forward slightly.
Keep your hips in one spot. Bend your right knee as if you could touch it to the floor. That's going to really challenge your toes and perhaps even your ankle. Straighten your back leg again. We'll do 2 more like that. Hips stay where they are, they don't lift. Just bend and tuck that back leg. Kick it straight. 1 more time. Straighten out your right leg, plant your right palm firmly. We're headed back to that side plank. How do you want to get there? You could lower your right knee right now and come into the side plank on your knee first. You could start to heel toe your left foot over towards the left side of your mat and then step your left foot back to stack, or you can just go for it. Side plank Vashisthasana. This time let's reach that left arm over your head. Trying to face your palm to the floor, but that's coming from the shoulder, not just the wrist. Hips a little higher for 3. 2. Back to a slow plank option for a vinyasa. Use your legs all the way through this flow. Use your tush, spine muscles. Downward face.
Reconnect to a smooth and subtle breath. I like to think of polishing the edges of the breath. If it's rigid or choppy, trying to make it more like a wave. Please lift your heels, step, hop, or tiptoe your way to the front of your space. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, that's the half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Strong legs.
Exhale, hands to your heart. Stand firmly into your left side foundation. Find your foot tripod. Bend your knees a little bit to start, and then bend your right knee a lot. Keep your knees even with one another, so we're not kicking forward or reaching back. Just a single leg chair pose. Sink deeper. Really gravitate your weight towards the back edge of your foot so your toes aren't gripping. Deepen your hip crease. Bring your spine down more. I don't think I quite made it level to the horizon last time, but I'm doing my best. I hope you are too. Finding a firm squeeze behind your right knee. Pressing firmly through your left heel. Reach your arms out in front of you. Take your arms out to the sides. Reach your arms behind you. Bring your hands to your hearts. Can't remember if I did anything else on the other side, but I think we're just gonna head slow to the warrior 2. So creep like a sloth, a strong one. Step your right toes back. Arrange your foundation so that your hips and your chest are open to the long side of your mat. Find the warrior. Taking a peek down, making sure the big toe is still visible. If your knee is hiding it, use your strong outer hip muscles to move your left thigh bone into a little bit of abduction and continuing that spiraling of external rotation. Let's rotate the arms again. Externally, biceps up. Internally, down and under. One more time. Strong spiral. And then internal rotation. Neutral position. Straighten your left leg. Reverse the triangle. Stay strong in this right seat as we try to extend through the hip first before we get the spine involved. Rebend your left leg. Side angle. Stack shoulders and wrist in one long line. slight knitting of the low ribs so that we can find that wide lateral breath out to the sides instead. Now we'll make the long line. Right arm reaches overhead into that flexed position. Uttita. Straighten that right leg even more, breathing for 3, 2. Push the floor away with both legs, rise up and open, turn to the star. Right toes, turning outward again, finding the warrior on your right leg. Bend. Stay in the lunge, reverse your warrior 2. Hands towards the floor, runner's lunge. Lift your left heel up, and perhaps you widen your stance from side to side here so you are not on tightrope. Lift your sternum forward, power the back leg, unless you have more than one back leg, you never know. So right heel is staying grounded, super firm. We're gonna keep the pelvis exactly where it is. Bend your left knee without changing anything else. Straighten your left leg. You've got 2 more like that. Left hand firmly planted. This is now your foundation. Feel that connection all the way to the shoulder and the lat. Find your side plank. Open to the right side of your mat now. You can stack your feet or stagger them like we did before. The left knee could be resting underneath you. Breathing. Last breath in and out. Back to traditional plank. Optional vinyasa. Keep your tush really squeezed through this one. See how that goes. Downward dog. Lift your heels. Walk yourself to the front of your space. Forward fold. Bend your knees a little bit. Bend your knees a lot. Start to lower your hips, but no lower than the knees. Bring your fingertips out in front of you. Push more through your left foot until you feel a response from your right hip, maybe even the glutes. Walk your fingertips forward a little more. Lift your left heel. Take your right leg back. You can keep your toes on the ground, or you can lift your left leg straight up out of your hip like an arrow. 1 more breath. Step your left foot back to the front of your mat. Lift your hips and straighten your legs. Straighten your legs till they stop. Let your head hang. Bend your knees again. Intentionally press through your heels so you can lighten your toes. Walk your fingertips forward as your hips reach backwards. Push down and find a sense of that left heel also trying to drag backwards. Step your right toes back. You're welcome to stay here in this awkward lunging position. Your ribs might be resting on your thighs, but try to lift your sternum slightly. Maybe you squeeze the right glutes to float that right leg up like an arrow out from your hip. 1 more breath. Step forward with your right foot. Fold over your legs. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. For this next bit, you can keep your hands at your heart, at least to start, see how it goes. Other choices for the arms would be out like wings to the side, back behind you, or maybe even more challenging would be reaching out in front of you. Chair pose with your feet a little wider than normal, about hip width. Heavy in the heels, neutral trunk. Kick your right heel towards your tush, just like we did earlier. We're gonna keep the right thigh bending here. Extend the left leg back as you hinge your spine forward to a warrior 3 position. Back leg will be as straight as you can make it, but the front leg, let's challenge with any amount of knee flexion. So that means you could get super low like we just were, but with your hands off the ground, or you could maintain more of a conservative bend in your right knee. Also being aware of how this changes the experience in your ankle on that right foot. Try to level your pelvis. Think of lifting from your left inner thigh and breathe for 3, 2. Keep reaching your left toes backwards. Point your toe. Reach it as far as it'll go, then drop it down. Open up to a reverse triangle pose. Stay long on both sides of your spine. We're going to keep this right arm reaching. See if we can get the hips to tip in that pelvic lateral movement. Kind of like, I don't know, this reminds me of something Shakira would do. A little sassy left hip. Kick it back. The right hip crease deepens. 2 more. Tipping pelvis. Now keep it tipped. So now the right bowl of your pelvis is pouring towards that right thigh. Take your left arm behind your back, palm facing outward. Reach your right arm and right spine about level to the horizon. So kind of like triangle pose, but we're not going all the way just yet. Roll your left ribs back. Roll your right ribs forward. Breathe. Find a sense of side plank in your trunk here. It's like side plank without your arms. And then find your triangle pose. Right hand might land on the lower leg, a block, perhaps even fingertips to the floor, as long as we can keep this beautiful length through the trunk. An open position in the chest. Roll your right shoulder down and back. Lengthen through the sides of your neck. A little sweet scissor action in the legs. 2 more breaths. Rebend your front leg. Let's find a warrior 2. And then pivot all 10 toes to the long side of your mat. You can make a bind behind your back with your arms, or choose to keep your hands to your hips. Hinge from your hip creases, level your back, and forward fold any amount. Energize your legs again. Play around with different isometrics here. One choice would be to push the feet down and try to squeeze your legs together. The other would be to press down and imagine you're trying to tear your mat in half. One's not better than the other, they're just different. Bend your right knee. Lengthen your spine forward slightly. Fingertips under the shoulders. Open your chest towards your left. Keep your right hand down. And then switch. Keep the legs like this. Left hand down. Chest open to the right toes. Back to a neutral position. We're going to pivot towards our left in a runner's. Optional Vinyasa flow or a down dog step back. From downward dog, lift your heels and then transition towards the front of your space any way that you like to do that. Feet about hip wide. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hands to heart, and we'll keep them there. Bend your knees like our chair pose. Start to hinge your body forward, deepening your hip creases. Keep bending into your left leg. Extend your right leg back. It's the warrior 3, but more like a single leg squat. So can you get your spine level with the horizon? Right leg reaching back like an arrow. Options here to deepen your single leg squat, maintaining a strong, long spine. Two more breaths. then how slow and strong can you transition the right toes back and then rise up, reverse the triangle. Left leg is straightening. Left arm is reaching upward. Soften your right shoulder. Keep what you have going on here in the arms and the upper body, but start to tip your pelvis laterally. Sassy right hip kicking back, left hip crease drawing deeper into your body. 2 more. Keep the pelvis tipping towards your left thigh bone. Hide your right arm behind your back, palm facing outward. Keep tipping now, pelvis initiated. Now the spine's following about halfway down, or maybe a little less, depending on how it's going. Hey, Michelle. Firm up your right outer hip. Give your glutes a squeeze back there to support this position of the spine. 1 more breath, halfway to the triangle. And then find your triangle. Where does that left hand need to land for you to feel confident, but challenged? Not overworked, but giving it your best effort. Relax the gripping in your toes. 2 more breaths, stay long in your spine. Even engaging that right quad a little bit, or a lot. Rebend your left leg. Reverse your warrior. Bring your hands to the floor. Runners. Pivot yourself back to a wide leg. I think I got there a little bit differently last time, but it's okay, it's all good. Wide leg fold. You can walk your hands through your legs. So it's comforting to know that it doesn't matter whether I'm in a group class or home, I still forget. And then this time we're gonna find that lengthened spine forward, fingertips down, and the left knee will bend slightly. Keep your left hand towards the earth. First, open your chest towards the right side. And then right hand down. Open your chest towards the left side. Back to the center. Pivot yourself back towards the right toes in a runner's lunge. And then step it back. Plank, inhale. Exhale, chaturanga, or all the way down, pull strong. Cobra or upward face. Kneeling or child's pose. Notice any changes you're feeling throughout your body and your breath. Body temperature. What sounds are you hearing from outside of yourself? Keeping your senses open, but trying to stay connected more towards inner landscape, including your own thoughts, as an observer. And then we're going to find a seat. We'll start with our legs about a little bit wider than the hips. Toes to the sky. Spine as upright as you can make it, even if that means sitting up a little bit on a shim to pour your pelvis to neutral or slightly anterior tilting. Let's take the arms out front. Palms touch lightly, and then we're going to slide and glide one more time. Letting one arm reach way forward as the other arm pulls back. Inviting a little bit of upper trunk rotation. Keep your navel facing forward. And then with your right arm, you're going to row back. Keep reaching your left arm towards your toes. Don't allow your hips to turn here, just the upper body. Hold this bow and arrow position for one more breath. And then take your right hand behind you. Lift your heart and your left arm into a mini back bend. Come back to the center, both arms out front. Slide and glide, upper body rotation. As you pull your left arm back this round, also pull back the bowstring. Shoulders set down. Right hip pulling back as it wants to rotate with you, so stay grounded equally through your hips. Left hand behind you slightly, just arc your spine slightly upward, right arm reaches. Okay, come back to facing forward. Bring your legs in a little bit so that they're hips width. Bend your knees. Adjust so you can get your feet firmly planted. And then we're going to take a reverse tabletop. So depending on how your shoulders feel today, you might want your fingers turned slightly out on a diagonal, all the way out to the sides, behind you. My preference is to have them pointing towards my hips, but there's no right or wrong way to do that. It really just is a different experience. So see what works best, and if you have to come out of the pose to do that, definitely do. Push down through your arms and feet. Inspire a push from your seat to open through the front of your hip creases. Now this is the pose, but if there is a little bit more that you want to play with, you can work on lifting a leg and rooting through the other, something like that. Or you could keep your feet where they are, maybe a little wider for stability, and try to lift one arm, maybe crossing it over. Play with this reverse tabletop. If you want a rib stretch, intercostals, turn your fingers slightly outward. As you lift one arm, you're going to reach towards the opposite side. It's okay if your hips turn a little too. When you get tired, then take a little rest. Bring your seat back down. Option to take both legs straight. Make Baddha Konasana legs the butterfly, or a wide straddle seat for a forward hinge. Tip your pelvis forward. Come onto the front rim of your pelvis so your tailbone and sitting bones are reaching back. Lengthen your sternum. Inhale, maybe raise your arms or not. Exhale, deepen your hinge and fold.
One more breath.
Rise up your spine and then lay yourself down onto your back, please. Bend your knees, set your feet. Tuck your pelvis under a little bit, and then stretch your legs up over your hips. Your arms can just rest beside you or out or in a cactus position. Observe the natural curves of your spine. Be gracious with your exhale. Breathe through your nose so it's slow, complete, and controlled. Rebend your knees. Bring your feet as wide as your mat and let your knees rest in together. Bring your feet about hips width. Lift and shift your hips a little bit towards the left. Bring your knees up to that reverse tabletop, and then let your legs sweep over to the right for a spine twist. If this feels too deep for you, you can put a block underneath your right leg, in between your right and left leg, or you can change your leg position, which is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cross my left thigh over my right and use my left foot as a kickstand. So I'm just at the very first edge of my stretch and my twist, giving my nervous system a chance to receive this new shape and become comfortable, familiar, and at ease with this change. Use some support from your core. Bring your left leg back through first. Reset your pelvis down the center of your mat and bring both legs up to a tuck. Hold the front of your shins or knees and rock a little bit side to side. And then plant your feet. Hips will swivel just a little towards the right side, just an inch or so. Knees up over the hips. Twist your legs over to the left, adjusting, making it feel right. And then give yourself the gift of stillness for a little while. Bring your right leg back out of your twist first. Adjust, neutral. Maybe another cannonball tuck or a happy baby if that feels good for you. And then we are going to take a rest today. Make yourself comfortable in Shavasana or any other shape that feels like rest. Few clearing breaths if that helps you settle, decompress around your head, neck, and jaw, shoulders heavy, committing to stillness and rest, recovery. Let your breath flow like a wave. Take rest. Keep your body still for now. Bring awareness to that soft breath simmering underneath the surface. No effort there. I'm going to share with you a poem, just a short verse by Morgan Harper Nichols. I hope you can find peace while breathing deep, even without knowing what comes next. Start to deepen your breath. Pull in just a little bit more expansion into your ribs. belly, back. Pour it out real slow. Take as long as you need to reawaken your body. Connecting breath to various areas of your body as a way to invite some casual movement there. Before you head back out into your day, take a moment just to sit and observe the state of things for you, physical body, emotional layers, the thinking mind, all playing off each other. There's really no disconnect there, except for the ones that we make through distractions and trying to seek contentment from outside ourselves. Just remember that you have everything that you need, even in times like these. Thanks so much for joining me today, everyone. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And if you're watching this on the playback in YouTube, please feel free to comment and send me an email. Namaste.